Hello to all of you wonderful people. We are outside of Grana, next to Marindora, because we're about to grab some church puffs and show you how to rotate upper Gyfins. To start off, I'm going to be talking about some of the details of upper Gyfins that you are going to want to know when you are playing in this location. So first off, Gyfin Raja Temple Upper is indeed a 270 AP, 320 DP spot, although it is a 5-person spot, so if your team allows you to and you have a good team, you can indeed go on seasonal gear, but you might be dying. So there are some certain buffs you're going to want to run, in which case I will show you some of them in just a moment. We're not going to cover buffs too much because that is mainly another video thing. I'll link down a video from my guild leader. He has a nice little video on buffs. I'll make my own pretty soon here. But first, let's talk about the little basics of it to get us started. So as we all know, we have a ferry. If you upgrade this ferry enough, it doesn't cost money. It can IRL cost money, but if you don't want to, there are certainly ways you can do it in game. It can cost between in the millions and billions, depending on how unlucky or lucky you get. Occasionally, you will be getting some login rewards or other things that give you some fairies tears or fairies feathers. I forget what they're called, but they should be little orange feather-like things. You can trade 2 of those in to one of the NPCs over in Medaya or at the Kama Sylvia Temple, and it will give you 1 fairy of your own. Now, it gives you a random fairy. There are different tiers of fairies, but no matter what fairy you can get, you can upgrade it through in-game cash. Now, we'll talk a bit more in detail about what fairies do, what you could do with all of them, but that'll be a separate video. First off, I'll just talk about the entire point of having a fairy at this zone. If you have a radiant fairy, in this case it would be a radiantly shining fairy is the one I have, and you upgrade that one, you have a chance of getting continuous care from it. Continuous care 4 or 5 is the best, just like any other one, and I would also recommend you go for Miraculous Cheer. I'll talk about that later. But by getting continuous care, you also get this screen right here. Auto use items. It allows you to just tell your fairy to pop specific buffs in certain rotations, and it will pop them the moment that the cooldown is up. For example, if you are annoyed by having to hotbar your Drought's elixirs, then you can just tell your fairy to pop it, and it will pop it every single time that it runs out. Or let's say you run a simple cron meal and you also want to run some other meals because simple cron meal runs on a different cooldown timer. Then you can run a simple cron meal and you can tell your fairy to pop these meals because these ones have a 30-minute cooldown and 7-hour 20-minute cooldown. Meaning you can pop 4 of them before one runs out, and then you can repop that one. So in this case, I would recommend using a Valencia meal, a Kama Sylvia meal, a Serendia meal, and a King of Jungle hamburger. And if you are dying because you are running seasonal gear, which you probably will be dying in this zone, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to first pop the Valencia meal, then you're going to want to pop the Kama Sylvia meal, then the King of Jungle hamburger, and finally the Serendia meal. This will give you a lot more defense because these buffs are defense orientated versus the Serendia meal, which is offense orientated. And of course, the simple cron meal helps because it reduces the amount of damage that you take from monsters, increases your HP, your movement speed, your casting speed, and some other things. Frenzy Drought of Corruption also helps because it does reduce DP, but it increases life steal that you get from attacking enemies. It can be detrimental during a boss, but that is about all. Occasionally, a Poacher will spawn. You'll just need to kill him, kill the box, and you'll be getting some items from it. They aren't really good, and most of the time I quite literally throw them away because they take up more inventory space and they really give good stuff for it. Now finally, this spot is a 5-person zone, so if you do not have a guild that wants to run these or you do not have a party, there is always the option of using the party finder, in which case almost always there's going to be a Gyfin party listed, and if there isn't, you can open one up yourself, and I guarantee people are going to want to join. So let me give you a quick rundown on what we just talked about. It's a 5-person zone. You need to find a party to do it. You can do it off seasonal gear, but I would recommend you talk to a party first because seasonal gear isn't the best for this, and you will not be maximizing profit, so your party should be up to speed on what's going to be happening. so they are aware of what buffs to run, because if they run something like a coin, it can get a bit heated because coins are quite rare. That, as well as you should be running some DP buffs if you're on seasonal gear, because you will likely be dying. Even if you cannot do much attack, playing a Shy or some other support class like a Witch or Wizard would help, since you can heal the party and give them some buffs. Now, this is a bit off topic, but I just got word that my stingers that I commissioned are finished. What do you guys think? I kind of liked them. Anyway, back on topic. Now here we are at the monster AP caps. Sorry for the little stutter there. And we're going to be talking about Gyfin uppers. So it'll just be the Gyfin Raja Temple, in which case the soft cap is a bit low, but that is because it is a group spot, meaning it is a bit of an odd soft cap. There is no hard cap, so as always, I would recommend running as many AP buffs as you can, since you do want to maximize loot. Now, the best part about this area is it's a good money spot, it's a good aggro spot, and a good EXP spot. You're hitting 3 for 3. There is zero downsides to the area. It also can be done on season, as I've said a couple of times, so it is probably the best spot to grind in that gear score range. There is always trees that you can grind, but it doesn't give too much money, it just gives good EXP, and Gyfin Raja Temple kind of competes in EXP. In fact, I've kind of stopped grinding trees in general and just switched over to Gyfin Raja, since I'm making about twice as much money there. Now, let's get into the rotation. So first off, you're going to be parking your horses here, you're going to be popping down the tent, grabbing Vil buff, doing whatever you do. If you have tents, of course, no worries if you don't. And so the first pull is one person comes up over to here, pulls all them. The other one goes down to here, pulls all them, and you kind of meet up right up here. Now, after you defeat all them, you're going to run all the way up here, in which case this pulls a little bit harder because one person's going to come around here, alert them. Next person's going to come in here, alert them, and then one of the other people are going to come down here and alert these two guys, come back up. Now, to alert them, you kind of just run through and you'll see an exclamation mark above their skull. That'll show you that you have got their attention and you will be fighting them from then on. I actually kind of want to see if I can kill them without any buffs here. Let me just... But yes, this is a 5-person spot, so I would recommend going in with the party. Don't be like me and be like, hey, let me show this off alone. Also, the Flamens and Crushers are the most important, though they are the ones that knock you down. There is also occasionally a boss that spawns called a Butcher. That one definitely can do damage. If you're on seasonal gear, you might even get one shot from it, so I would beware. If you're worried about being one shot, there is always the Pavino Greco logs, which give you 600 HP. I would recommend doing them. I haven't even done them yet, so eventually I will show you a video on how to do it. Now, normally you would come down here, one person alerts them, one person comes over here, alerts these guys, and another person goes around this tree here and alerts these guys, pulls them all in. But first off, I want to show you an extension. If you are over clearing, then instead of going down here, you're going to want to run down the side there and come up here. In which case, everyone's going to run around in a circle, alerting all the guys in this vicinity. Most of you are just going to come over here and sit in the circle, though. It's mainly going to be the fast ones that are going to be doing this, mainly not Shies. Shies do have some movement abilities, for example, her skateboard, which is kind of nice, called Yippee, but that's kind of her only really movement skill, so it would be hard to alert some of the enemies. Anyway, you'll be clearing them, and then you'll run on over to the enemies right there. This is where it gets a bit complicated. This is the most important pull, as this is where most of the enemies come from. Half of you are going to run up here and alert the enemies that are on this side, kind of just walking through them, making sure they all grab their attention. And you're going to bring them on down to this little section right here. Now, if you're the other half of the group and you're running down that way, you're going to be running down this way. These guys are going to be pulled from the last group, so don't worry about them. But once you get to here, you're going to be pulling that guy right there. These guys, you're going to want to pull the Crushers. This is why multiple people usually run through this, so that one person can kind of just walk down the center of it, the other can walk down the side of it to pull the Crushers. because like, oh, wait, no, that one's an actual statue, to pull the crusher. And then you're going to meet up right here where one group's going to pull that one group's going to pull this one. You'll be getting a lot, and I mean a lot from this. And finally, once you complete all them, you're going to run down to the side here, and you guys are going to pull these. One person's going to run down this side of the pole, the other person's going to run down the other side of the pole, pulling them all and sitting in this little corner here. In which case, majority of the time as a shy, I sit right here while they're all focusing on you guys, and I'll heal. Ow. That's kind of mean. And finally, once you complete all them, you're going to drop down from that ledge up there, and one of you is going to run down this side, pulling all of them here. The other one's going to run down the other pathway, pulling them. And then finally, the fastest one's going to go over there and pull them. You're going to either meet up right here, or some parties like to meet up right here. It just depends on which party you are. And this is when you go back to the start. One group is going to go down the side of the stairs right here. You're not going to pull any of these guys, mainly because they're going to be pulled from the last group, which you kind of met up there. And the person that's going to run down here is going to pull these guys and run up to the start here, in which you're going to be meeting up right about here, while the other half of people are going to run from over there all the way down this path. You can cut through here, but you're just going to run up to the start. Your horses and tents will be right there, so if you need to drop something off, that's a good time to. But they're going to be pulling these little statues here and meeting up here. So one group's going to pull them down there and meet up here. The other group's going to pull them down there and meet up here. That way you can get a big old pack. And then you're back at the start where you just reset the rotation from there. I have never seen a party overclear with the extension added, but if you're overclearing, then just add the extension and you should be fine. Now, if you've done your Agris logs, you have Agris activated, you have Yellow Scroll activated, you have all this done, then you should be pulling somewhere around 30k trash loot. This should equate to about 600 million. You'll be also pulling around 40 Caphras and some other things. There, you could get a Tungrid belt. These only sell for around 80 million though, so drop rate isn't all that important for this section, though it can still be additional help. So I would recommend running a Common Sylvia Blessing. If you don't want to, then you don't have to run tent buff, but you can run the 50% drop rate from tent. It does help. But in general, most of your cash is going to be in Caphras and trash loot. So we've given a little quick thing on cash, but let's go into depth what you're going to be getting. So let's say we pop Agris and we pop Gold Scroll. Let's say you have an ecology drop rate of, I don't know, 20%, let's just say. Let's say you grinded that out as much as you possibly could and got 20% ecology drop rate. You'd be getting a decent amount from this area. Around 530 mil, that sounds about right, off trash loot. About 32k trash loot. That is if you're pulling really well. You're getting a decent amount off Caphras, 35 or so Caphras. You're also getting some dust. You're getting some other things. But in general, most of the money comes from the trash loot. Adding all this together, if you have a really good party, if you do some of this stuff, you'll be pulling maybe 700, 800 million an hour, which can be quite a lot of money. And if you pop Agris coin, which let's show that really quickly, for subscribers only. Sadly, we cannot show it, but some people can pull upwards of 50,000 trash loot, which can earn you somewhere around 1 billion coins an hour, if you are popping coin, of course. You do get Lemuria armor, so as I said earlier, you can level your fairy this way, so that's a nice little drop. You can get some horse stuff, Krog stones, all this stuff. Now, this is with just base drop rate. If you want to grind on our sheet, you can. Increase the drop rate. Doesn't really hurt. And hell, I don't often get belts, but I usually get 2 to 3 Krog stones per time. Now, Krog stones have been going down in value recently, so of course you may not be getting that much anymore, but still, it is a nice little bonus. Anyway, you will be pulling a lot of money, somewhere around 700 mil to even 1 bill, depending on what you're popping. and how good your party is. So anyway, we have covered all the basics of how to grind this zone. If you want more details, I would recommend finding a guild, a party, some group that will teach you all the ins and outs of it. This is just a general how to rotate it, what kind of buffs to pop, do all that stuff, what you'll be making, what gear you need. But I would recommend, of course, to find someone or some group of people that will give you the details, ins and outs, kind of walk you through the entire process. Because even with all my help, it can still be difficult, I know. Definitely can. And I will see y'all later. Have a nice day and night. Make sure you subscribe, leave some comments, show this video off to friends, leave a like, turn on notifications, watch the other videos, do whatever the hell you're gonna do. I don't mind. And goodbye, everybody.